we're going to transition now and welcome Kristen Lindmark. Kristen is the Vice President and Chief Technology Officer at Stanford Healthcare and Stanford School of Medicine. Kristen works closely with other hospital executives and various department chairs on defining and implementing the strategic initiatives. And he manages a team of over 400 responsible for technology strategy, portfolio governance, infrastructure, application architecture, biomedical engineering, data centers, facility projects, system deployments, and field service and service desk activities. Stanford's new hospital is noted for being at the forefront of embracing new technologies, leveraging IoT and communications. And so it's great that Kristen can be here today to share some of his learnings with us. So please remember, you can send in questions via the QA button at the bottom. And Kristen, please take it away.
Simon, thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. Appreciate the invitation from the ONF to speak today. So I want to talk today about the new Stanford Hospital. This is one of the most technologically advanced hospitals anywhere in the US and arguably anywhere in the world. It opened in November of last year, so we've been open for just over a year. And what I'd like you to think about today is, as I talk about the technologies we've deployed and as advanced as we are, I'm really excited about the future of healthcare and what we're going to be able to do 5-10 years from now. And I think it's organizations like the ONF, when I hear about the work being done with Ether, I'm really excited about those opportunities, how we can continue to improve the patient care experience and provide better outcomes. So a little bit about who is Stanford Healthcare. So we're based in the Bay Area. We have 2 hospitals. Our main campus is located in Palo Alto, and we have a second inpatient location in Pleasanton on the East Bay. We have multiple ambulatory sites throughout the Bay Area, as well as numerous clinics. Stanford Healthcare is part of Stanford Medicine, which comprises of Stanford Healthcare, the Stanford School of Medicine, and Stanford Children's Hospital. Stanford Healthcare was founded in 1959, and our mission is to heal humanity through science and compassion, one patient at a time. So why did we build the new hospital? So here are some of the key drivers. We have portions of our existing hospital that could not meet California seismic standards, even with a retrofit. So we had to come up with additional square footage. We also have had increasing volumes, and as the only level 1 trauma center south of San Francisco, it was imperative that we could handle those increasing volumes. We needed to increase our bed count, as well as address aging operating rooms and other infrastructure. So we were licensed for 613 beds, but prior to the new hospital opening, we actually only had 475 beds. So we needed to, again, handle those increased volumes and provide more space for our community. And I think the fourth imperative is that we needed to create a technology advanced hospital to fulfill the triple mission of Stanford Medicine, right? And that is to provide world-class patient care, to train the next generation of physicians, and become an incubator for research. So the initial design for the hospital actually began, and planning for it began back in 2008. The initial design was actually completed in 2011, and that included the IT design. And so one of the things we'll talk about in this is the challenge in trying to plan a facility that's not going to open for 8 or 9 years and ensure that you have the infrastructure in place to support those technologies. Ground was broken in 2013. Our last major IT design update was in 2015. And again, the hospital opened in November of 2019. So here's a rendering of the new hospital. This is the tallest building in Palo Alto and in Santa Clara County. From all of those patient rooms you see there behind the glass, you have beautiful views of the surrounding area. But one of the challenges in building a building of this height is we had to get sign off from the county and from the city. And so architecturally, what this building is meant to look like is each of those 4 pods that you see there, the glass, those are called pods. They're meant to look like they're hovering above the tree line, sort of floating in the clouds. And that was one of the design elements from our architect on the building. The other piece of this building that's very exciting is the fact that we have 206 base isolators underneath this facility. So in the event of an earthquake in the Bay Area, the hospital will actually not move. The ground underneath will move and shift, but the hospital will stay in place. And those base isolators are meant to withstand an 8.0 earthquake. So we believe we've differentiated ourselves in robotics and automation, location awareness, and with experience for our caregivers and staff within the hospital. But there were numerous major technology uplifts that we had to complete prior to the new hospital opening. A lot of these systems we actually deployed in the old hospital first. For example, the new enterprise imaging system we had to put into place, a brand new lab system. We did a complete upgrade to our entire patient monitoring system, and we implemented a brand new secure messaging and alert and alarm management system. We have over 180 applications that we had to have ready to support the new hospital. Most of these were existing technologies, but each of them had to go through a complete architecture review to ensure they were sized appropriately to meet the new demands of the new hospital, as well as support the old hospital as well. Many of these applications required just simple upgrades, but there were quite a few that had very extensive infrastructure required to meet the new business requirements. I mentioned earlier how hard it was to plan for a hospital with all of these technologies so early from the hospital opening. And I would say the couple of things that we did to solve for that is we built a very solid and robust core infrastructure. We have 21 miles of fiber optics throughout this facility to handle all of our backbone bandwidth needs. We have the most advanced copper cabling infrastructure to support our end user devices. And so I think for us, that was very core because we knew technologies would change over time, even after we opened, but we wanted to make sure we had the infrastructure in place to support new technologies. We also had very key strategic vendor relationships and work with them on their roadmaps. I'll tell you, we met with numerous vendors throughout the 7 or 8 years who told us they were on a certain path. And as we continued to meet with them, we'd find out that they actually weren't. A lot of it was talk. And so we'd had to go out and find new vendors and partners to work with. So it was important that we had those key strategic relationships. And then we also piloted a lot of these technologies in our old hospital first before we actually put them into place. We would take a small nursing unit, put the technology in place, get feedback, and ensure that it actually met the business requirements it was supposed to. So in the new hospital, we have over 12,000 biomedical devices that are brand new, 23,000 end user devices such as computers, iPads, computers on wheels. We have a distributed antenna system throughout the hospital that has 4 cell phone carriers whose signal we proliferate, as well as fire life safety signals. We have over 35,000 networked ports throughout the hospital, hardwired ports. We have over 1,500 wireless access points and 2,200 RTLS sensors. From a network standpoint, we have a highly redundant and scalable network architecture capable of supporting 10 gig to the end device. We have 181 switches throughout the new facility supporting the 35,000 network ports. And we implemented device profiling throughout the enterprise to allow for seamless automatic connection of end user devices. And this has eliminated the manual switch configurations that were previously necessary, saving significant time to connect new devices. I talked a little bit about the wireless infrastructure, 1,500 wireless access points. We have a redundant infrastructure there, and we actually use an HD3 architecture, which stands for high density design and deployment. And that covers all 824,000 square feet of the new hospital. The wireless network is meant to handle 120,000 concurrent active sessions. We're nowhere close to that right now, but obviously we know that this is only going to continue to grow over time. So with the wireless design, we actually have 3 times the number of access points than you would traditionally have in a normal Wi-Fi design. That gives us 6 different channels, 3 in the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum and 3 in the 5 gigahertz spectrum. That gives us more bandwidth and dedicated RF lanes for mission critical traffic. All of our SSIDs are mapped to separate non-overlapping channels. That provides dedicated RF channels for each specific traffic class. So for instance, our medical devices, workstations, voice over IP devices, our robot on their own separate channel. We did our best to try to future-proof this facility from our infrastructure and network perspective, knowing that we wanted to have minimal disruption to operations as new technology became available. We allow for seamless wireless roaming across all Stanford affiliates. So whether you're on the adult campus, the children's hospital, whether you're at the university, you're able to roam with your session across the enterprise. And then we obviously proactively monitor the wireless network for availability and latency issues. So the intent of the new hospital was to support advanced technologies from the opening, but we also understand that technology rapidly changes. So we designed the new facility to easily replace or bring in new technologies over time without substantial impacts to operations. So the next few slides I go through, we'll talk about some of those advanced core patient-centered technologies. The MyHealth application is a Stanford Care branded mobile patient portal. It was developed a little over 5 years ago for our patients in their ambulatory outpatient setting. With the new hospital, our internal software development team created a MyHealth inpatient experience in order to cover the entire continuum of care for our patients. The MyHealth app is location aware, so it knows when you arrive at the hospital and you are within the walls of the facility and changes the views and features of the application accordingly. You can see the first screenshot on the left is the MyHealth welcome page. The second screen showcases the patient's care team, so the patient and the family both know who will be interacting with the patient during their stay. The third screenshot shows how the application is connected to the electronic health record and can display lab and test results to the patient. And the fourth screenshot on the right highlights our blue dot wayfinding, which we've integrated into the application. So when patients and their families arrive, they're able to get step-by-step directions to where they need to go upon arrival as well as during their stay. Coming to the hospital can be a very stressful endeavor for a patient and their families, so we've attempted to provide technology solutions that enable the patient. Now I want to take you inside a patient room. So this is a bird's eye view of a patient room and the technology within. We wanted to provide technology that enhanced the patient experience and provided patients control of their environment. So patients can use either the pillow speaker or the iPad that we provide in each of the rooms to control the lights, the temperature, and the shades. There's also a 55-inch smart TV located on the footwall with an Apple TV connected to the back for entertainment and screen sharing capabilities. We've really tried hard to demystify the patient experience and provide information, transparency, and control to the patient and their families. You will also find technology within the ceilings and walls supporting direct patient care, such as real-time location sensors, which seek out staff and equipment with an RTLS badge. You'll find a nurse call code blue system and bedside computers for charting. On this slide, I want to showcase a couple additional technologies that we have within the patient room as well. We have a large neuro service line at Stanford Healthcare. One of the issues has always been monitoring patients who are seizure risks. Traditionally, patients at risk have a sitter in the room with them who watch them and alert staff in an emergency. We implemented remote integrated monitoring with cameras in the ceiling or cameras on a mobile cart to allow remote monitoring of patients. We were able to monitor more patients and monitor them more effectively using this technology. On the right side of the screen, we are showcasing one of our patient monitors and an integrated smart infusion pump. Both of these are connected directly to our electronic health record, which has been common practice for quite some time. However, the infusion pumps have bidirectional flow of information to and from the electronic health record. This is a relatively new technology. The electronic health record is programmed to electronically send a specific medication order to the patient's smart infusion pump, and then the infusion pump electronically sends information like the start and stop time back to the patient's electronic health record to document the intervention. This type of technology has many benefits, including reduced medication errors, improving the efficiency of medication administration workflows, and decreasing inconsistencies in nursing documentation. We tried to automate wherever we could in the new hospital. With the new Stanford Hospital, we introduced a new secure messaging and alert and alarm management system for our caregivers, which is integrated with many of our patient care technologies, such as nurse call and patient monitoring. We have roughly 3,500 iPhones that are provided to frontline staff for use on their shifts. This mobile communications platform allows for faster and more efficient communication between nurses, physicians, and patients. One of the initial drivers of this new technology was the size in the nursing units in the new hospital compared to the existing facility. The new nursing units are much larger, and this mobile technology allows our caregivers to be more efficient and saves them thousands of steps each day. Barcode medication administration can also be completed using the camera on the iPhone which eliminates some of the clunkier technologies previously used. Currently, about 100,000 texts and 10,000 calls are made each day with this mobile application. So the new hospital is really an IoT hospital in the truest sense of the word. We have over 2,200 RTLS sensors throughout the facility. So a couple of use cases that I want to showcase. We distribute RTLS badges to our patient care staff on each of their shifts. These badges are integrated into their nursing workflows, such as nurse call. So the RTLS system is able to document how long it took for a caregiver to respond to a nurse call alert from a patient. It tells us which caregiver went into the patient room and how long they stayed with the patient. We also use enhanced RTLS badges in the ED, which include a staff assist and duress button to call security if staff get into an uncomfortable situation with a patient or their family. On the equipment side, we have tagged most all of the 12,000 medical equipment devices. This shortens the time it takes for caregivers to find devices for patient care, as well as it helps us to more efficiently manage our fleet of devices, which has provided us with significant cost savings. We have implemented automated guided vehicles, we call them robots, to handle our 3.5 million square feet of space that is served by a single loading dock. This single loading dock supports both Stanford Healthcare and Stanford Children's Hospitals. The robots have greatly helped take the burden off our supply chain. We have 25 robots that transport supplies both horizontally and vertically throughout the facilities. These robots have many sensors on them, and they use these to move around the floors of the hospital. The robots are quite intelligent. The sensors help them stop before they run into a person or obstacle in their way. They can also talk and request you move out of their way. If the obstacle doesn't move, the robot will attempt to move around it. These robots have been very efficient in addressing the previously labor-intensive tasks of getting materials from the loading dock to their proper destination on campus. Now we're going to move into the advanced technologies within our interventional suite. We have 29 operating rooms within the interventional area, which covers just over 3 acres of space. As I mentioned before, Stanford is a level 1 trauma center, as well as a certified designated stroke center. One of the key technologies within the OR suite is the interventional MRI, or more commonly referred to as IMRI. When a major stroke patient comes into the ED, time is of the essence. If a surgery or intervention is warranted for the patient will go to the OR. If additional images are required once the patient is in the operating room, the traditional process is to take the patient out of the OR, break the sterile field, and wheel them back to the imaging department for further imaging. Once that's complete, you would then bring the patient back to the operating room. That takes significant time, especially when you're dealing with a stroke patient. The IMRI, on the other hand, is located in a clean environment and directly attached to 2 of our neurology ORs. It allows patients to receive immediate imaging while still in the surgical sterile field. This is literally a lifesaver for patients who are having a severe neurological issue. Moving into the pharmacy, we have a very interesting and sophisticated integration in our pharmacy department. We have installed 3 pharmacy robots. 2 of them are box pickers and 1 pill picker. And their job is to fill scheduled medication and replace unscheduled medication in the 115 medication dispensing stations that we have throughout the new facility. The pharmacy robots and med dispensing stations are integrated with our electronic health record. This is a first in the world integration. It has not been done in any other hospital. One of the benefits is that no human touches the medication until it's ready to be administered to the patient. At that point, the caregiver uses barcode medication administration, which is integrated with the EHR, to close the loop and ensure the patient receives the proper dose. This reduces errors significantly. We've also integrated the pharmacy system with our supply chain partners, so as inventory levels are reduced, orders are automatically triggered and are sent electronically to our suppliers to be filled. Well, that's quite a lot of technology, and for most hospitals, that would be enough to provide great patient care and train the next generation of physicians. But since the triple aim of Stanford Medicine is to also support Stanford research and the researchers looking to develop new techniques for clinical care, the new hospital was built to be a platform for innovation. We have the ability to use new information and data coming out of the hospital to aid in research, but we also have the ability to trial new technologies to better staff workflows and patient outcomes. A couple examples here include the use of thermal imaging systems to discern hand washing in patient rooms. This is an extremely important area of improvement within the patient care delivery to ensure proper hand washing protocols are followed. This specific technology was developed at Stanford by Dr. Arnie Milstein. Another use case is AI vision systems and algorithms for watching patients and then interceding with alerts and alarms to clinical staff as needed. We have put core cabling and network infrastructure into the new hospital to support this type of technology and hope to have the specific imaging devices deployed within the next year. A third example of deep learning and AI algorithms, which were developed at Stanford, is in the bottom left. And you'll see here, this specific example allows contrast dosing to be reduced up to 90% in certain situations. This is really exciting from an imaging diagnostic perspective. It's a tremendous quality improvement. So these are all exciting new technologies, and we are excited that the new Stanford Hospital and the Stanford medicine community will be the place where many future healthcare technologies that benefit patients all across the world will be created and developed. So I've crammed 8 years of planning and design into 20 minutes, so I apologize for that. This presentation typically goes much longer, but I hope I've given a solid overview of the new technologies we put into place and what an advanced hospital looks like from a technology perspective. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm really excited about the future and what technologies we can actually bring in 5 to 10 years to continue to drive change and innovation and ensure that we improve outcomes for patients, not only in the community here within Stanford, but all across the world. So with that time, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Kristen, thank you so much. That was terrific. Yes, we do have some vibrant number of questions coming in for you, and I'm kind of trying to cull through them. Actually, there are a number that come in. I would group as privacy. So let me read a few together for you. So it's amazing, number one, to see how much technology is used in the hospital. How do you ensure security tampering of the devices and sensors? Are there any applications you're not allowed to carry over Wi-Fi or wireless due to HIPAA regulations? And does HIPAA, hamper your overall efforts?
Yeah, those are great questions. So, obviously data privacy is very important to us, and the regulations are in place to ensure that not only Stanford, but all organizations protect patient data. So that being said, we have a private network for within the hospital. So anything that can reside on our wired network per regulations could also be on our private Wi-Fi network as well. So we have numerous security protocols in place to ensure that only devices we know connect to that network within our hospital. I mentioned earlier that we actually profile devices. So we have a list of all devices that we know that can connect to the network. So if there was to be a rogue device that tried to connect, it would not be able to connect to the private network. It could connect to the public network and get guest Wi-Fi access, which we provide to our patients and their families, but it cannot connect to our secure network. So in terms of devices, we do have security protocols in place to ensure that devices are not being tampered with. A lot of that just gets into identity and access management when someone comes up to a machine to try to use that machine. But all data stored within a machine, you have to have proper authentication to get access to. So one thing I just say is the regulations are extremely important, but obviously, I think one of the challenges healthcare has had for the past 20, 30 years is often the regulations have hindered us to be able to move as fast as many other industries have. And I'll tell you what we've seen happen in the past 9 months with COVID and how fast we've been able to adopt and actually put in new technology to allow for patients to stay home. The regulation changed to allow that to happen. And so it took a major event like that for us to be able to get the regulations to change so we could support our patients more effectively and efficiently.
Very good. And just a follow up to that, I'm sure you addressed, are there any applications that you can't run over wireless for any reason, that you really need a hard wire?
Well, I would say these days with the speeds that we're receiving from the wireless network, obviously latency would be the only issue. There's no other reason other than latency. So potentially some of our large imaging files, all of our imaging systems are hardwired. all of the imaging platforms, and most of the computers that our physicians use are hardwired as well. Again, that's just from a latency perspective. But really at the end of the day, it's important in the OR because milliseconds do matter in the OR when you're dealing with patient care. But outside of that, the wireless network traditionally can handle just about any application that we have now.
And what about use of the public cloud? I don't think you mentioned that. So is everything on-prem? Are you starting to leverage commodity cloud at this point in time?
Yeah, so we are starting to. So one of the things for us, most of the applications that we have internally are actually off-the-shelf applications from our partners. They're not in-house applications that we developed, with the exception of the MyHealth app. So for many of these applications, we're relying on our partners to determine whether we need to be on cloud or on-prem or in the cloud. So I would say roughly 20% of our environment is in the cloud, and most of that is mainly SaaS applications, I would say. We are starting to move into the cloud, the public cloud, in some of our other areas, mainly from a DR perspective. When we think about the elasticity and what makes sense for us, DR applications seem to make a lot of sense. But so many of our applications would just have a huge storage requirements. And again, putting storage into the cloud doesn't make a lot of sense from a cost standpoint. So we're rationalizing that right now as part of our data center consolidation project we have going on. I suspect we'll see more and more continued move to the cloud. And I'm really excited about the work actually that the ONF's doing as we think about H-Cloud and other opportunities as well. So I suspect this will be an area for us to continue to provide focus over the next few months and years.
Mm-hmm. And then do you have any immediate plans to leverage private LTE or CBRS, some of these newer wireless technologies? It sounds like you have in-building support for the public wireless networks, but anything in the private space?
Yeah, so right now we don't, but it is something that we are looking at. Again, I've just become acquainted with ONF, and we started to foster this relationship and some of the opportunities there. And so we actually are starting to look at some proofs of concepts of things that we might be able to achieve. So I'm hopeful within the next 6 to 9 months, we might be able to define some use cases and look at some opportunities of things that we might be able to bring into the forefront of patient care.
Yeah, terrific. Well, Kristen, I want to thank you very much. It's really fascinating to see, how you're using technologies, and great, I think, for our community to hear from you. There's a lot of interest and a lot of questions about what use cases are going to get the most traction in this space. And so, seeing sort of the case study from you has been, really fascinating and helpful. So thank you very, very much.
Simon, thank you, and thank you for all the great work you guys are doing at ONF too. I'm really excited to follow you and see where you guys are continuing to drive things. So thank you very much.
Great.